I'm Emma, and this is Uhtred, and he is just around 6 months now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what it's like to have a baby as farmers. Not so much from the perspective of, you know, how you have to kind of divide and conquer with like what you have to do. Someone has to do outside animals, someone has to do the baby. And in our case, it was, you know, me doing baby stuff and Jason doing outside animals for a while and that kind of thing. It's more, and so I don't really need to talk about that at this point, but I thought it would be really valuable, especially for young farmers considering having a baby or planning on it or already have a baby, like how you can start to integrate your baby into your farm life, because that's clearly your life in a big way, and your baby's going to grow up on the farm with you, learning how to do that. Woo, woohoo, crazy babies. So yeah, and I kind of want to reflect on through the course of the first 6 months, because that's where we are now. He's around 6 months, and how you can include your baby in what you're doing, but in a way that's, you know, age appropriate and also helps you get some stuff done, that kind of thing. Uhtred is really into technology, so he's staring at himself on the video camera and he's really excited about it. Okay, so as far as when they're really young, it's very hard to incorporate them into your farm life. I mean, because you're still meeting them, you're still getting used to them. But when they're a couple months old, and even before a couple months, I think it's really important to try to acclimate them to the temperatures that you're going to be involved in and working in when he's older, when he's 3, when he's 2, and he's out there with you. You know, and I'm not saying, you know, have him sweat his butt off or have him freeze, but Uhtred has been really great, and he was really great in the heat. He was born in July, and we don't do AC usually, so he got used to warmer temperatures. You know, we kept him out of the sun, but sometimes he would be sweaty because, you know, it's hard to wear a diaper in the summer. You get a little sweaty, but he never really got overheated, or he definitely didn't get overheated. But it was really important to take him when he's little and expose him to the different temperatures in your house and outside, so that when he's older, he's not freaked out about being too hot or being sweaty or how that can be uncomfortable. He just takes it and just assumes it's the way it's going to be. I think especially with the cold, he's been older and more active, obviously, in the cold because he's 6 months now and it's the beginning of February and it's chilly here in North Carolina. So we bundle him up like crazy, and he has a lot of great wool clothes, like wool gloves and wool hoods and stuff. But I think that's the trick, is not being afraid to expose your baby to the elements in a safe way, and not keeping them in a climate-controlled place, because when they're older, you're going to have to be outside doing all kinds of animal wrangling or working in the vegetable garden or whatever kind of a farmer you are, and it's going to be really important for him to be able to hang and be comfortable being sweaty, be okay with being chilly as long as he's got enough layers on, and not be afraid to be cold or be afraid to be hot, because I think that's a thing even with adults. Sometimes they don't like to step outside their comfort zone, which makes sense, you know, but you kind of have to train yourself to be able to do it. So that's a big thing, is temperature, you know, getting them used to temperature and climate, and, you know, getting them used to, oh, it's raining. If I get a little wet, it's okay. You know, as long as I'm warm enough or whatever, you know, it's going to be okay. So, and when they get to be a little bit older, there's other ways too that you can involve them in what you're doing. So what we've done, especially recently with him, because he's 6 months now, is put him in one of those hiking backpacks, because they need to be around 6 months to be in them. And Jason's been carrying him around in that sometimes when he does the animal afternoon chores. And it's a really great thing. He really loves it. First of all, they're up high. They are really erect, you know, so they have to be old enough to be able to almost sit on their own. And especially with animals, it's really valuable to have an up high baby if you're in the thick of the animals, because animals are dirty and messy and muddy. And so they could sling dirty water on your kid, but up high near your face, it's a lot less likely that you're going to get dirty. And a lot of the hiking backpacks also come with like a hood cover thing to keep the rain off, which would work for, you know, a muddy animal area, or anything like that. So he really loves that. And when he was younger, I would take him outside sometimes in the front body carrier, like the cloth, like harness kind of carrier, just to at least see the animals and exposing him to the animals. I think that's another big thing too, is exposing them to whatever you're going to be working with in the future. So farm animals are really loud, like turkeys are really loud, gobbly, and the pigs squeal, and the ducks make like wah, 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 sounds. So getting them used to that young, so it's not so scary, because it is kind of a freaky sound. We've had visitors, different kids, different ages, and sometimes those new sounds are like a little startling. But the sooner that we have him out there, seeing the animals, seeing them, hearing them, watching them, the way they move, and he'll just gradually, the way any kid growing up in any culture starts to learn the cultural rules of something, he'll learn the social rules of the animals, and he'll understand when an animal is trying to get you to back up, or when an animal is just being crazy and loud but not a danger. So he's going to get that better because he's around it more, which is really valuable in our case because we have animals running all over the place. Our farm is free range, pasture raised animals, and you step into fence with an animal, there's a bunch of them running around. They're not in cages, obviously. They're not in pens, little squares, or in little houses. They're moving around. So you need to know the behavior of the animals to be able to work with them and to not be afraid, or to be able to help when he's 3 herding some ducks, that kind of thing. Another big thing that has been helpful is just trying not to change the way we live our life for him, unless it's in a way that, you need to. You need to, be quiet during bedtime so he can rest easier, at first. Although we were never very quiet, because in the summer when he was born, our windows were open and the animals are noisy. And so he got used to a lot of that background sound, which was great. And I think that was a huge benefit for how good of a sleeper he is. So just making sure that you keep doing what you're doing and you don't try to live in a world where your baby isn't part of your farm life, because that's not possible. I mean, he watches me wash duck eggs, and he thinks it's cool. And if he gets bored, he'll play with his own toy. But just seeing the mundane, repetitive, but valuable things, I think is going to make him more comfortable with doing those things himself. And just the fact that that's like our job. That's what we do when we go to work. We stay home sometimes and we go to work, and that's the way it works. So another way you can have him mixed in with your outside world is in the stroller. And that's sometimes easier because you're not worried about him getting dirty, and you can push it out to wherever you are working and park him. You just have to make sure that he's protected enough if an animal is going to come up. Make sure they're not, he's not near the animals or near anything, bless you, that could hurt him or anything like that. And on a farm, sometimes it can be tricky business, dodging electric fencing and things. But the only, I think, negative of that is when you're out doing lots of work with animals, you get dirty. And so you have to have kind of a plan of action for if he cries and is upset and can't handle being outside anymore, in the middle of you doing something dirty and gross, like I will take a cloth and wrap around the stroller so that when my hands are dirty, I don't touch the clean stroller, and then we can stroll back inside and I can shed my dirty clothes and we can come inside and nurse, and you have to time the farm things that you do with him if there's only one of you trying to do it. Making sure that he's got a clean diaper and he just ate, that kind of thing makes him more inclined to stay and pay attention. But around this age, they get so into watching the animals. I mean, he could sit outside for forever and just stare at the animals and listen to them. And he isn't afraid of the loud turkeys when you're right next to them, and isn't afraid of the geese that are so loud like the turkeys. Sometimes he's startled, like, whoa, they are so loud. But he knows that they're part of the world, and that's the way it works. And so I would feel like those are some of the better tips for trying to think about your life as a farmer with your baby, is making sure that they're a part of it from the beginning, if you can, and even in little ways. I would say the temperature acclimation is huge, and the sound acclimation is huge. And just including them. So in different ways, backpack, stroller, figuring out what works best with their developmental stage, because for a while the stroller was better for him, because in the backpack he couldn't hold up his head, and so he couldn't be in that, or in the front carrier he couldn't really hold up his head. But now he's getting better at all those things. So you kind of branch out whenever, it makes the most sense. And I'm sure when he's walking and falling a lot, we'll have him in the stroller, because if he falls down in a pile of animal poo, I don't really want him to do that quite yet when he's like 1 year old. So that's just a couple tips, a couple reflections that we've had on raising a farm baby. And he has an excellent time. He's a laid back guy, excited to see animals, good with all the temperatures, and he loves being outside. So I think that's a huge thing that I'm really grateful that we did it that way. So thanks for watching. This is Uhtred, and perhaps I'll see you again in a few months when we have some more insight about what it's like raising a farm baby. Thanks a lot. Bye.